Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you today. I'm aware that all of you have a very tight schedule, so let me just start by introducing myself. My name is Ms. Sukonsupa Hansamer. I am a second year student in the Faculty of Education majoring in English at Mahasarakham University. Today, I would like to talk about the educational research. The topics of today's presentation is Teacher of Writing, the Attributions of Trainee Teacher by David Ray, who was the Institute of Educational at the University of Warwick. For the next 10 minutes or so, in my presentation, I would like to report on the background to the problem and an investigation of self-perceived competence in writing of trainee teacher. Basically, I have divided in my presentation into 6 parts. In the first part, I will talk the introduction. Then in the second part, I will talk about the research hypothesis. And in the third part, I will talk about the literature. In the fourth part, I will talk about the research methodology. Then in the fifth part, I will focus on the discussion, and then in the last part, I will focus on the limitation and the recommendation. Let's start with my presentation. So first of all, it might be thought that in order to successfully teach in a skill or to process to the other, teacher would need to be very competent in themselves. In this discussion took place during what will be familiar for the new trainee teacher nowadays. And one of the students dropped into the conversation that she found teaching writing is very difficult part of her teaching. And this sparked of this discussion that whether she could actually teach the young learner to write if she not good at writing herself. For a number of years, the researcher have under the delusion that realized that the number of the university students might be writer confidence as writer. If only because in order to get into the university, they have a very skill in specialist subjects. For a student who training to be a teacher, such confidence seems even more natural as, after all, it will not be long until they in their classroom, their own classroom, and responsible for to teach the writing of the young learner of their own. Now let's move on the second part that is focused on the research hypothesis. The first one, to what extent do trainee teachers have confidence to themselves as writers? The second one, to what do they attribute their confidence or lack of confidence? And the third one, are there any differences in this attribution depending on trainee teacher characteristics? The last one, what do the view of trainee teacher tell us about the successful teaching of writing? Now, let's move on the third part. I will focus on the literature that is a theory of attribution. What do reason that trainee teachers give the view of their writing as a writer? This theory are useful framework. The attribution theory consider individual belief about the reason of their successful and failure. There are two differences frequently that give more success and failure in the young learner in the school, that is ability and effort. And attribution theory can be classified into two sides. The first one is external attribution that cause the factor outside. For example, for a learner who lacks the successful writer may attribute their to having bad teacher, poor teacher. For the next one is internal attribution. This assigns to the factor within people. For instance, a successful writer attribute there for having native intelligence or to work hard. The next, I will focus on the process of writing. The process of writing tends to learn as a meaning-making process, which is facilitate the learner to ask the question, discover connection and find the answer. The writer first draft are initial attempt to think on a paper. After that, they engage the process to elaboration and clarification what they think about to making the meaning. So this, according to this, the attribution of the writer ought to be primarily internal, so that the external influence would not be the problem of the writer if they're not good at the writing themselves. So the next, I will move to the research methodology. The type of research methodology is the type of the research is quantity. The instrumentation is questionnaire and interview with 52 student training teacher. In this, 31 were English specialists and the rest were specialists in mathematics or science. Unfortunately, in this study, they have only one man, so any cross-gender were precluded. Writing questionnaire was administered to those students in an attempt to determine about their attitude towards writing. As you see in this data, all of the trainee teacher has the mean score at 18.79. It's suggesting that has a quite negative attitude towards writing. But if you comparing with English specialists and math or science specialists, you can see the different picture of it. English specialists have the mean score at 22.61 and the math and science specialist has the mean score at 13.14. And you can see the some of the students who back in trains. That means there are some students who has the high score. In this study, there has only 9 students who has the highest score with a mean score at 41.11. We design them at high self-assessive writer groups, and in this group has 8 students in English specialist and 1 in science specialist. And this group match that they has only 9 lowest score students with mean score that 11.89. So they decide them as a lower self-assessive rated groups. So both of these two groups were invited to be involved in the second phase of this study. In this part, they They will individually interview. This interview began with the basically general discussion about their feeling of their writing. Yes. This analysis showed a picture that the difference that made by these two groups have a made different groups. The first one I will focus on referring to ability. At this attribution statement of 44 that made by lower self-SSC writer groups, they made referring to ability in 18 or 40.91%. They have acquired negative attitude towards writing, but in higher groups, they have 12 or 21.43%. They have more positive attitude towards writing. And the second one referring to effort. The lower group had the attribute statements at 16 or 36.36, and the higher groups have 18 or 32.14. You can see that the referring to the effort in the higher group has more positive attitude towards writing. And the last one is referring to influent others. In these groups, there are very few attribution statements in the lower group with 22.70. You can see it very contrast in this study. In the higher, they have 46.43 or 26. So we can conclude that the higher self-esteem writer groups have more often influential others than effort, and the last one is ability. But in the lower self-esteem writer groups, they have a reverse order. That is ability first, most often, then effort, and the last one is influential others. In this point, I will focus on the discussion. Finally, for learners who have succeeded in writing, a very salient factor is influence others, and which is the external component as writer. But in influence, they focus on ability and effort that were mentioned on participant explanation. And the result of this study suggests that the need for reconsideration of what it means to teach writing. Teachers can be teach their attitude through writing, and the value they teach to write, and the time they devote in the classroom. So this is my last point of my presentation. This study has only one man, so that any cross-gender cannot be studied. So I recommended that this should be separate in the equal gender. And the next one, this study have a small scale of the study, but if its finding were replicated on a wide scale, it should be have a strong implications. Yes. So let me summarize what we have said before. This research go on through the attribution of each young learner makes attribution of ability and effort through there are important implications of teaching and developing of the writer. In conclusion, I would like to leave you the following idea. I was never much good at writing. It's not for the trainee teacher to say. You need to improve your positive attitude so that you will go on the positive influence others to the student you will teach later. So that's all of my presentation. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer them.
In your thinking, do you think learning to write is something that can really be taught? Do you think like speaking, learning to listen, learning to read, do you think teachers can actually teach to write, or is it something that is inborn within you?
I think yes, they will teach, but again, pardon, teacher.
Okay, I'll phrase it another way. When you write, how do you improve on your writing? What do you do to improve your writing skills?
Write with my feeling. If I want to, I practice it for all day, because if we go to study, we always write, but we lecture. That's my improved way that I do all the time.
You improve writing by writing.
Yes.
Right? You cannot just improve writing by knowing the rules of writing. The more you write, the more you can write.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And in your thinking, what is the most important skill that you need to know to be able to become a good writer?
Practice.
Practice.
Yes.
So from today, start writing every day. Okay. Thank you very much.